My name is Matthew Wayne Selznick, and I know this much. This is episode 0 of I Know This Much. It's a little short episode, the very, very first sort of real episode that is that's coming out. And what the heck is it? How do you know what I Know This Much is? How can I share what I know with you about I Know This Much? I Know This Much is my venue, my conduit for talking about whatever I feel like talking about. You know, many of you, whether you're patrons of mine or listeners or readers, you might have been listening to or have been subscribed to the DIY Endeavors podcast since if you're a real early adopter, since October of 2004. If you're part of the newer audience, then since October of 2014. But where the DIY Endeavors podcast was all about, well, DIY, creative endeavors, and my DIY creative endeavors, and talking to other DIY independent creators, I really found that I wanted to talk about more things, that I needed someplace where I could talk about things other than pure DIY independent creativity and creative entrepreneurship and all that stuff. And I still want to talk about that stuff, believe me, but I've got other things on my mind. 2015 was a very, shall we say, transformative year, and it's left me transformed. And with a lot of stuff I want to say, and things I want to find out, and things I want to share, and learn from you, ideally. And that's where I know this much, and I know this much. That's what that means. That's where that comes into play. This will be both an audio podcast and a YouTube thing. I'll have a dedicated YouTube playlist for I Know This Much on my YouTube channel, and I'll throw the link for that onto the screen and into the show notes and into the description and all that happy stuff. But if you search Matt Selznick on YouTube or Matthew Wayne Selznick on YouTube, I'm going to come up and you'll find it there. And so video show thing, vlog, what are we calling it in 2016? I don't even know. Audio podcast. Maybe eventually, if there's enough interest, I'll do this as a live streaming thing. Most of these episodes are going to be me talking to you about what's on my mind, exploring an issue or a question about emotional, mental, physical health, current issues, yes, creativity, the media, relationships, even spirituality, and that weird thing we're calling secular spirituality these days. If it's on my mind and I'm kind of digging into it, then I'm going to try to share it with you, and hopefully together we will learn something about ourselves. I'm going to learn something about me. I know that for sure, and that's important to me. And usually when that happens, I find, and a person shares that with others, then others maybe learn too. That's the idea. That's what I Know This Much will be about. Discovering things, ranting about things, probably now and then. Can't deny that. That's going to happen. I know myself well enough to know that's going to happen. And every now and again, I will bring other people onto the show to have conversations, much like I did with the DIY Endeavors podcast, but not so structured, more organic, just hanging around and talking and seeing where it leads, seeing what we can learn from each other. And that will be that. If you are one of my patrons at patreon.com/Matt Selznick, you're going to get early access to the video edition of every episode of I Know This Much. You'll get that before anybody else does, probably by 3 or 4 or 5 days in advance. And that will give you sort of first dibs in helping shape the direction of this show. Contributing questions. That's a big part of this. I want to know what you know this much about and what maybe you're curious about. And if you're interested in my opinions on such things. So if you're a patron, or if you'd like to be a patron, you can go to patreon.com/Matt Selznick, MATTSELZ, for the benefit of those folks on audio. As little as $1 a month gets you access to the patrons stream, where again, the show will come up in early access before I post it to YouTube, before the audio podcast goes out, before all of that. Check that out. But otherwise, folks, to get episodes, either audio or video, of I Know This Much, you'll want to go over to mattselznick.com and subscribe. There will be links there for the audio feed and for the YouTube playlist for the show. And the goal is that this will come out about every 2 weeks. My Patreon patrons will probably see a little flood of early episodes, and then those episodes will be bled out, dripped out into the general feed for general use. That's it. It's kind of guerrilla. As you can see, I don't have much in the way of a backdrop or anything fancy here. It's just me and you talking, but I love the idea of doing this on video. I love the idea of looking you in the eye while we're talking. I think there's so much more to be gained from visual cues, I love audio podcasting, and I love that intimacy that comes from being right there in somebody's ears. I love that connection that I have with people. That's why I was one of the first podcasters back in 2004. That's what drew me to it and keeps me coming back. But I also like this short form video thing, and with the topics that we're going to be getting into, and with my goal of being as transparent and vulnerable as possible when it comes to my thoughts on what may be some pretty weighty subjects, I really like the idea of seeing each other. So I hope you come along. Again, I Know This Much. That's the name of the show, and it's about how much I know, and together we will find out more. My name is Matthew Wayne Selznick. Take care.